Scott just made the point.
Jefferson, seems to be a lot more secure, not just.
Whether Donald Trump's campaign manager assaulted our former PJTV colleague Michelle Fields or not, the aftermath has rocked anyone who cares about free speech. I'm PJTV's Scott Ott with Stephen Green and Stephen Cruiser, who's pinch hitting for Bill Whittle, though there is no pinching and no hitting on Trifecta. Now, Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields has pressed charges against Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski over an alleged manhandling that left her bruised and shaken as she attempted to ask Trump a question after a news conference. Now, we're not going to adjudicate the case here. That's for the courts, and Fields has pressed charges against Lewandowski, so we'll let that play out. However, shortly after the story broke, Breitbart meekly requested an apology from the Trump campaign, which it didn't get, and then suggested that Fields got her story wrong. Internal memos show Breitbart officials telling staffers not to talk about or tweet about the situation. A few days later, Breitbart's PR man quit, saying he wouldn't lie for them. Then Michelle Fields quit, and so did conservative pundit Ben Shapiro in a show of solidarity. At this moment, 2 other Breitbart staffers have also left, saying the news organization has betrayed the values of its founder, the late Andrew Breitbart, and has become little more than a campaign mouthpiece for Donald Trump. Meanwhile, back at the Trump campaign, Corey Lewandowski and other Trump staffers and supporters began attacking Michelle Fields on Twitter, denying that she was assaulted, calling her a delusional liar, attention seeker, and worse. Now, Stephen Cruiser, didn't Michelle Fields, Ben Shapiro, and others overreact by quitting? I mean, wasn't Breitbart management right to try to coordinate the corporate PR response to the crisis? What's wrong with a little message discipline?
I don't want to engage in internal gossip, but you've put me in that position right now, so I'm going to engage in some internal gossip. There has long been within the Breitbart organization a lot of consternation about the direction it's taken under Steve Bannon, and especially as it pertains to the Trump stuff in recent months. And there are a lot of people in there right now I know personally who are not happy, who are contractually bound. Believe me, this exodus would be much larger were it not for the contracts that are holding people there. But Michelle and Ben were both on Megyn Kelly's show last night, and they said, she said, I just felt I hung out to dry. They abandoned me. They left me hanging there. She didn't say anything for 24 hours because she assumed that they would jump in and fight for her. And anybody who knew Andrew Breitbart, this is something that Ben said last night on Megyn Kelly's show. He said Breitbart would have been down in Florida in Corey Lewandowski's face, demanding an apology, going to bat for his employees had that happen while he was alive. And that is true. And that's the kind of thing that people, I think, are so jarred by right now, is they became used to that Andrew Breitbart out there defending people. Because Breitbart didn't just defend people who worked for him. He defended almost anybody on the conservative side of the aisle who needed defending. He was a big champion of people who needed defending. He would use his pulpit, he would use the camera, he would use his notoriety to do whatever he could to help people out. And the fact that this organization that bears his name now would sit there and equivocate on something like this, like, we're not going to adjudicate the case here, but I don't care if you accidentally grab someone hard enough to bruise them, at least, like, geez, I'm sorry, you apologize for even doing it unintentionally. But I think that's what's gotten people so, people who didn't know what was going on inside the Breitbart organization right now are finally getting to contrast with what it was under Andrew and what it is now, and they're seeing that it's not the same thing, and that hurts. That hurts a lot of people, because Andrew was responsible for so many people being concerned about politics on the conservative side of the aisle in the Tea Party movement. He was directly responsible with so many people, and then the site itself brought so many people into the fold too.
Well, Stephen Green, at the most basic level, what we have is a reporter who claims that she was mildly injured, alleges that Trump's campaign manager did it, and wants an apology. How did Corey Lewandowski handle his job as sort of chief communications officer and protector of the Trump brand? And would you have done things differently?
Yeah, I would have done things differently. There are so many ways to apologize without admitting culpability for some sort of criminal assault, which should have been accepted by Michelle Fields. Now, I don't know what actually happened. It appears that something happened. If I were on a jury for this. I might have to vote to acquit because based on the videos I've seen, it's been like the Zapruder film on Twitter for days now. I might have to vote to acquit unless some new video comes out because what is claimed I just haven't seen in the video. That said, it is probably, it is clear that something happened, and this is the kind of thing that in a grown-up campaign would have been settled very, very quickly. But I want to get back to the issue of taking care of your employees. You know, my grandfather had a small steel service company back in St. Louis, and it was a Teamster shop, and that man hated dealing with the Teamsters. He loved his workers, but he hated that union. It gave him hell. They were constantly trying to shut his business down, put him out of business. That said, when times got tough, management, including himself, would take a 10% pay cut across the board before he would lay off a single union worker. And the reason is you stand by your guys in the field. You have to do that. You have to stand by your guys who actually get the work done. And this organization, Breitbart, did not do that. They didn't even seem to really want to know what happened before they let their own employee just hang out to dry in this situation, which is a terrible way to treat your employees, and it's a lousy way to run a business.
Well, you know, it's easy to blow something out of proportion and to assume the worst. And with Donald Trump's track record, it gets even easier to assume the worst. However, history also teaches that it's easy to paper over significant moments because we don't want to believe the worst. An assault is more than just a physical act, and a verbal assault more than words. It sends a lasting message. I'm in control. You will obey me. Don't mess with me. Now, whether Donald Trump's campaign manager grabbed and bruised Michelle Fields, the courts may determine. But the assault we did see was the Trump campaign's immediate public attack on Michelle Fields' character. It was aggressive, dishonest, intimidating, calculating, and meant to send a message to anyone who would challenge Trump. Well, for now, the free press is merely bruised, but an abuser is only encouraged by fear in the heart of the abused. For Stephen Green, Stephen Cruiser, and the entire Trifecta crew at PJTV.com, I'm Scott Ott.